This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor John Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
And I'm Heather Branch here with John to talk about ways to help you better prepare for your financial future. RetirementSolutionRadio.com is where you can go to begin your own conversation with John and his team at J. Hagan Capital. We also have links posted in the show notes, so you can just click there or, again, find us anytime at RetirementSolutionRadio.com. So it is the holiday season.
It is.
And for many, you are gathering around different tables, different living rooms with family and friends. Maybe a board game is going to pop out. As they have a way of doing this time of year. You're like, everybody's bored. Nobody, like, get off your phones. We're going to make eye contact.
Board game.
We're going to make eye contact with each other. We're going to have real conversational interactions.
Heather, you know just as well as me. Everyone's going to have their nose down in some apparatus, some phone thing.
How dare you?
Scrolling around, playing Scrabble with friends, even though all of their friends and family are in that room.
Nope.
I've physically watched this happen.
Not in my house. We're breaking out the board games. We're going old school, everybody.
All right. Twister. All right. Little Twister action.
Left leg broken. Okay. So one of the classic American games is, of course, Monopoly.
Ooh, yeah.
Invented more than 90 years ago. I didn't realize it was that old.
Well, monocles are still all the rage.
And watch fobs.
Of course, why wouldn't you? Of course.
And tails for the afternoon day jacket.
I love that. I mean, come on. We're not Neanderthals. You need to dress properly after 6 p.m.
It's actually even evolved into a championship competition event.
No way.
In which Tim Vandenberg placed second here in the U.S. a few years back. And here's the thing. We are going to hear from Tim right now talking about the definite strategies that are involved with playing Monopoly. And it begins with the colors of the streets on the board. Here's what he said.
Number one, the oranges are king, but anything could win except for the browns. Number two, build to the 3-house level. That's when you get your best return on investment. And number three, think ahead. Now, that's a major life skill we want our children and adults these days. Plan ahead.
First of all,
oh my gosh.
Insider tip. Did you know about avoiding the browns? I'd never heard of that. Apparently, the browns.
Isn't that Baltic and the two that almost have no money? Like you almost get no money from those. Am I right?
You definitely know better than I do. I do not have.
Here's what I've realized. They've changed the colors over the years. Like in order to get my kids introduced, we have like a newer version of it. The colors are a little different. I've realized this because it used to be purples that I liked.
Yeah.
Park Avenue and Boardwalk were always blue. My favorite were the Reds, Illinois, Indiana, and whatever the third one. I don't think it was Kentucky, but whatever it was, those were the big one, the red ones.
Got it.
How interesting is that to hear? Was it Tim Vandenberg?
Tim Vandenberg,
who is a Monopoly
champ,
strategy artist. He does what? Is that a real word? Strategy. Yeah, he does. He strategizes in Monopoly. I wonder. That is amazing. See what I mean? Anyone can major in anything these days. That is amazing to me. Anyway, so
I just that we're able to give some listeners right now a little tip off before they get into the game playing with their families this holiday. Yeah. You guys, we're here to help.
Hey, I'm telling you.
Avoid the browns and build houses to 3 stories.
Yeah. So this has been several years ago. It was a guy's getaway, and we had a Monopoly board. Don't know why, and we were drinking maybe a little bit of bourbon, and we realized how much more fun would it be to sell fractional shares of each of the spaces. And we basically did it like stocks, right? Yeah. So it's like, no, I just want a fractional share. I will give you 1/5 of the value that has the hotel on it. If we do it this way. And so it was awesome.
You guys are a bunch of nerds.
Oh, nerdy is all get out. Nerdy is all get out. But see, whenever you introduce $1 to a situation, I become very intrigued. I become very interested. How can I manipulate that? How can I grow that? What can I do? I don't want to lose it. I want to keep it safe, but how can I grow it over time? What can I do to get a piece of that action?
And I appreciate your fascination with it all, whether it's a real dollar or a Monopoly dollar.
That's right.
You are here to figure out how to make it go further. And that's where I want to go with this next question for you, sir, because when it comes to making our dollars go further, is there, in your opinion, anything more important than developing a proper tax strategy?
No, if you think about it,
make sure that you're protecting those dollars.
Yeah, so think about it. So everyone can make $1. Everyone in this country has the opportunity and right to do it. So we make $1. Now the question is, how much of that are you going to get to keep? Right?
Right.
Some parts of the tax code, if you do them devilishly well, I say devilishly because you got to be a little bit cunning. You got to be a little bit smarter than the way they wrote the code. Yeah. And you can be. It's not really that difficult. But the point is you could potentially keep the entire dollar. Now, that's obviously a lot more attractive than if someone has to give up 50%.
Sure.
Right? They got to give half. They only keep 50 cents. I mean, 50 cents won't even get a piece of bubble gum anymore, will it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But when you think about the way that the tax code works, the more successful we are, it's progressive, means that we're going to pay more as a percentage of taxes. But guys, that's not it, right? So you have federal taxes, then you have state taxes. Some parts of the state, you get local taxes. Other areas, you have municipality taxes.
Yeah.
You get taxes upon taxes upon taxes. When you actually look at it, the American dollar is taxed so many ridiculous times. The only way that we can start that process is understanding how we spend money and how can we hold on to more of it and keep it away from Uncle Sam. Now, at some point, we have to pay someone, right?
Right.
Whether it's the federal level or the state level or the local level or the international level, at one point, we're going to have to pay someone. But wouldn't it be nice to make it the least amount that we could possibly pay, right?
Yeah.
So we only have a couple years left of this current tax environment before we sunset that and we go back to the old school tax code that was, I guess, prior to 2017. And we still don't know exactly what that's going to look like, okay? So there's a few things that have a lot of our CPAs, but then a lot of the national, like gurus and the stuff, just kind of thinking, how is the government going to handle dependents and exemptions? That is something that we didn't really have to deal with as much in the current tax code that we're in right now, because they made the standard deduction so much higher.
Got it.
But it's very interesting. We don't know if that standard deduction is going to stay as high as it currently is. They could absolutely go back and no one is going to have the same exemptions that they used to have because we've been so unaccustomed to it, right? We're not going to have the ability easily over at least 3 to 5 years probably to itemize correctly because it takes time to build up those things to itemize. The amazing thing is that me just talking about this, I realize a lot of people out there have already glazed over. You've already hit the snooze button, man. You're, oh my God, what is he talking exemptions?
What's the point of all of this?
Somebody make the bad man stop. But see, that's the unfortunate truth.
Yeah.
They put 74,000 pages of the tax code out there to bore us into sleep so that we don't ever actually extrapolate where the real loopholes are.
Got it.
But guys, they're there.
Yeah.
They're really there. They're really there. So there are so many ways that wealthy people pay exorbitant amounts to their tax attorneys and their CPAs to help them understand these things. We do a very similar thing for our clients. The question is, how motivated is that client to enact and to be aggressive with the tax code?
Right.
I mean, some of my clients, they are all over it. They love it. It's like, oh my gosh, John. I mean, I can't believe how much money we're going to save by doing it the way that you taught us. It's like, well, right. And other people are like, nah, malarkey. You know, as soon as you think you got something figured out, the government's just going to change it on you.
Well,
maybe, right?
But it's worth being proactive now, is it not?
That's the whole point. But I promise you one thing. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always have what you've always had. And that, to me, is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and 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 over again and expecting a different result. So the one thing that I want everyone to understand is our country is broke. I've said it for 10 years on air. I'm not going to stop saying it because we're worse than we were 10 years ago. Tremendously worse. We're still spending money we don't have. We're still giving money to Ukraine we really don't have. We still have issues in the Middle East that somehow, I don't know how, we're probably going to be involved in some capacity outside of just being humanitarians or civil human beings. We're probably going to have to give some monetary support there somehow. And then now we have, China that are, playing some war games. Yeah. So the question is, and if you think about almost all written history, when you look at how great dynasties collapsed, how the great empires fell, it was almost always not being able to unify the people. Well, think about where we are right now. And secondarily, lack of resources. Well, we're broke. We got $33 trillion of national debt, and we're going to stack another trillion or $2 trillion on it after this year because we're going to spend about twice as much as we're going to collect from the Treasury. See, guys? So we're getting to be at a point where the government can't really kick the can down the road too much further until it starts to increase tax rates. Right. And believe me, if you are like me and you have done a great job saving, the bullseye is the biggest on you. People that don't have very much, hey, it's how life works, right? We haven't had the opportunity. Maybe things didn't work out for us. But my granny always said, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. So the government's not looking at us if we don't have much. It's everyone that has done a remarkable job saving, which happen to be the majority of people that listen to the show.
Right.
And so what we have to understand is if the bullseye is on us, if we see the writing on the wall, guys, you need a tax strategy last year. As a matter of fact, I have some pretty good CPAs and accountants that work for me. But there were two things that we just didn't realize that we did not do well in the last 2 years. So my current controller, our CPA that works with our clients, was looking at this, and he found a way to save my company almost $300,000 in taxes by amending 2 years' worth of tax returns. It was stuff that we should have known about, stuff that was right there in our face, but we just somehow didn't do it, or we didn't apply it correctly. And the amazing thing is that is what really good people can do. But they already knew what my directive was, which is, hey, I don't want to pay the least amount this year. I want to pay the least amount over the course of my lifetime. So let's make sure we get that right. Paying the least amount this year is always good, but I want to pay the least amount over the next 25 years. And that's exactly what he was able to figure out. He goes, oh, John, well, not only are you not being efficient now because you are paying more this year, you're also not going to get those tax breaks down the road. That's what we discovered.
Wow.
And so, guys, tax code is boring, and it's done purposefully to lull us into a sense of false confidence. And right before the Venus flytrap eats you up, right? What was that? What was that movie with Rick Moranis? Little Shop of Hearts.
Feed me, Seymour.
Feed me. That's the government. Feed me, Heather. Feed me, John. I need more tax dollars in my belly. No, so when you think about that, we can make a difference in our own taxes. But here's the big one for anyone that inherits your money. So not only do I want my clients to pay the least amount in taxes over the course of their life, I would like them to do it in a way that might eliminate so much taxes to be paid by your heirs, by the beneficiaries, right? So doing things correctly can make a huge difference. As a matter of fact, one of my mentors taught us how to use 3-generational tax-free wealth transfer. And it is one of the most remarkable things ever if you are truly serious about avoiding taxes over the course of your lifetime. It is amazing. I've really never seen anything quite like it. And those are things that are available to us if we know where to start looking.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with John Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with John and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to John's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Inc. is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Inc. is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. It does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Jonathan Hicks, Insurance License Number 548962.